So, welcome to the very first episode of the Step by Step miniseries. You guys, I have to be really honest. So, I've obviously had my podcast. I'm an actress. I've done hosting, and I've actually been like anxious today because of this episode, because of the launch of this. And I'm like, do I need to write notes? But I am joined by Kit Rich, and I met Kit. If you haven't seen your Unpaid Therapist podcast, if you haven't been flooded with all of my posts about Isabel's Garden, I hope you have. But she is the writer, director, producer of Isabel's Garden, which is days from being released. It's been all over the festival market, has won numerous awards. Now you guys are going to see and experience what she created. So thank you for doing this for me.
I'm so happy to be here. Always. Anything
Thank
for
you.
you.
So, we talked about like your process during Unpaid Therapist to getting the movie made, and I really, if you haven't seen that already, guys, go to that because she just there's so many little nuggets, especially if you're a dreamer, a doer, a creative, that I think are just so inspiring, and just as a human being, um so definitely pop into that and listen and just soak it all up. But for this episode, I really wanted to focus on and like get into your head, Kit, on the inspiration for the storyline. So tell us a little bit about how it started. I know we've talked about this before, but if people are new and haven't heard, just let's start with that.
Great. Yeah. So the movie's called Isabel's Garden,
Mhm.
as you mentioned. And in short, it's about a stepmom who unfortunately loses her husband in a car accident. And then she's tasked with having to help raise her 15-year-old stepdaughter alongside his ex wife. So, right there out of the gate, it's a story of, you see that it's about a blended family. And the inspiration for this story actually came from a very personal place. Writers write from a place that they know. I am a stepmom, and I this idea came from actually a very fear-based place. I think it was a way for me to process something that was a deep insecurity of mine. I was actually speaking with a lot of stepmoms, and there's this thing, when you join a blended family, and by your joining, it makes it a blended family.
Yes.
But so when you join, it becomes a blended family, and you're there by choice, not by
Mhm.
blood. Oftentimes there's a lot of insecurities about your role, how your
Mhm.
validity in being there, what you're allowed to do, what you're not allowed to do. But in this particular one, it was a deeper conversation about, what if you've dedicated your life to this family, and the person that connects you, that bonds you to this family, is suddenly removed or passes away? What then? And I just went into this deep conversation with a bunch of stepmoms, and that's actually where the story idea
Mhm.
began. What ended up happening, though, was a much bigger conversation about, I think, more universal themes about processing grief, women being there for each other, um, resilience, and the power of choice.
Yes. Man, I love that. And as we've done like our little, virtual press junkets and things like this, it's been really cool to hear men and women's both perspectives on the things that have like stuck. Um, and I really love hearing people just be obviously the grief theme, and that's a common one, but just being really appreciative of diving into this blended family storyline. And like we were talking earlier before we started hitting recording, you were talking about the nuclear family and all of that, and how there's just what you see out there now is very different than like in the 1950s, right? So you
Yeah.
starting this conversation with Isabel's Garden, I was just so excited. And obviously, so before I shot Isabel's Garden, I was not in my relationship that I am now. So when I tell you, I mean, and you guys already know, I don't believe in coincidence. And I do believe timing is everything, and the way things are placed into your life, or it's not by accident. So when I met David and, met his daughter, obviously there was a long process before that. I was like, well, isn't this funny? I'm like, I just finished doing this film and I was just, you know, met you. And then just hearing your story and just your grace and maturity with the whole situation, it was just, I needed that in my life. And just like woman to woman, I was like, man, like this could not have been just like what a gift, like honestly. Like,
Well, how unique too, because you actually played the role of the
mhm,
mom. And so you got to understand, I mean, it's not every mom's perspective, but this mom's
mhm.
perspective. Do you feel like that was a window into you understanding how to, I don't know, how to
Sure.
navigate?
Yes, 1,000,000%. And I mean, I reached out to all my girlfriends with kids and I was like, okay. And because actually, and I'll share this on the podcast, and David and I are going to do some episodes of step by step. But so I was able to meet Olivia's mom before I met Olivia, which is something that they discussed and I thought I really respected it. So before even that like little coffee date, I was like calling all my friends, who have kids. I'm like, what would you want me to say to you? Like, how could I make you feel better in this situation? Because I am definitely a girl's girl. And I don't want anybody to, I don't know, just to think I have bad intentions or just whatever, anything. I didn't know what to think.
Or that you're overstepping? Yeah.
Right. And so it's tricky. So I really wanted her to just like, to understand, like, I feel for you. Like, so, you know what I mean? Like, I can't even imagine what it is that you're feeling, but like, please understand, I'm going to try, um, which is the most I can do. But I always had you in the back of my head because, your stepdaughter's mom has been to these festivals
I love her so much. Yeah, she's my family.
because,
Yeah.
like, it's hard because I think in the beginning, and we've talked about this kid, like the whole, and then the title of this miniseries is like knowing when to step where has been the the dance. If I'm stepping a little forward, if I'm okay, it's time to step to the side. Now I need to step a couple steps back for a minute.
Mhm.
And, obviously
Mhm.
you're many years in, and so where you are at is definitely a goal. And everybody's situation is different. So even if it didn't look exactly like that, at least it's been great to have you as like this inspiration and just again bringing the conversation. So when you spoke to these women,
Mhm.
stepmoms,
There's a lot of us out there. There's a lot of us. We're just not in the public
yeah,
eye.
and I want to connect with everybody. So you were saying that the main something that everybody did, I guess, relate to, and correct me if I'm wrong, was if that thing was taken away, like what would happen? Was there
Yeah.
anything else outside of that? Obviously, that's what brought Isabel's garden to life that you related to, or you think something like this miniseries would be helpful to like have us all kind of chat about and like open the conversation,
Well, first, you're talking specifically about the stepmom
right? And the
experience,
blended
yeah?
family.
And the blended family. First of all, I think there just needs to be, I think in general, I actually have never said this, so it's not going to come out right. But stepmoms in general, and if we're being really honest with ourselves, oftentimes we don't speak publicly about our situation because there's a stigma still against our role and our responsibility in the
Mhm.
family. And we're also, it's almost like there's a big, huge forum and platform for moms to be able to be there for each other and to talk about their grievances. And there's also this generational thing of all these women, mothers coming to help them and be like, no, this is how you swaddle the
True.
baby. But there's no one to say, hey, you're a new stepmom or you're dating somebody who has
Yeah.
kids. Here's how to navigate this. And the reason that women need to come out of hiding for this is because it is such an important
Yeah.
role. It is its own unique space. I know a lot of stepmoms identify as mothers, and it depends on the
Sure.
situation. For me, I am not Iris's mother. She has a wonderful mother, but I am a
Mhm.
parent. And so being a step parent is its own thing, and it deserves its own, conversation. In the same way that I wouldn't expect, me to understand fully what a dad is going through, I would never expect a dad to understand what I'm going through, or a mom to understand what I'm going
Mhm.
through. I think the more conversations we can have about this, though, it opens up this conversation for not just stepmoms to relate to one another, but also, the nuclear family, the mom, the dad, to hear these things and maybe have a different perspective on what the experience is like. And the idea and the goal would be to bridge the gap,
Mhm.
to create a more wholesome blended family for everyone to be able to adult and be there for each other so that the kid can thrive, or kids can thrive.
Yes. I love that because it's so true. You see, like, all the forums or the hashtags
Mhm.
for all the moms to moms,
Yeah.
and you're right, like, I got a book on Amazon for it's, like, the blended family book, and it has, like, all these steps on, like, during the dating stage, during the introduction stage, and all these things. Because 'cause I'm
Mhm.
like, "Oh," um,
But haven't you ever noticed how much there's an emphasis on the mother, even in those blended family books? Like if they're talking about, if you're ever
mm,
listening to what a stepmom is going through, it usually has something to do between the stepmom and the mother. And the kid is a product of whatever is going on between that relationship,
yeah,
right?
it's true, and I think, what I loved about the journey in that you so beautifully painted in Isabel's Garden, amongst all the other themes, and of course, we're just focusing on this on Step by Step miniseries, is the evolution and the vulnerability that both women had to go through, and the growth, because it's not easy, and obviously some situation. I mean, look, from some of my girlfriends and stuff, they're having this baby mama drama, that's like a thing that people say, and
Yep.
so going into it, you're like, "Oh, okay," like, I'm, trying to walk on eggshells because you don't hope that that's not your situation, and it's not mine, so I'm super happy, but for the people who it is, this is why these conversations are so important, and I was just so glad that in Isabel's Garden, you see that Christina, my character, she's not excited about this situation, as I mean, dang, because if I was in her shoes, I'd probably be like, "But okay." Um,
Hmm.
but through time and because of Isabel, she she opens up, and she's giving it a chance, and then, of course, just watch the movie, but there's just such a beautiful, evolution for everybody and for so many different reasons.
Thank you for saying that. That's how I feel.
Yeah, and I mean, look, I just speaking on the movie alone, I just every character has such an awesome arc, and we talked about this in some of the movies on, like, some of the interviews, excuse me, on why did you do this movie and what did you like about it and things. So that was definitely obviously one of them, because everybody has an ABC arc, and their inner struggles. And of course, everybody's like, well, Christina's a bitch. And I'm like, guys, she's complicated. She has layers, and she was written that way, which is why I don't like people just focusing on that part, because I'm like, I love that you can see that, um, in her. And obviously she's not hiding it, but at the same time, you can see the struggle, and she voiced.
I love that you say that, though, because that's so interesting, because I would say that a lot of people have complicated feelings around Maya as well. So I was really particular, and this was deliberate on my part, to not necessarily make the women the most likable characters in the world at the
Mhm.
beginning. Like, people, we are very complicated people. Sometimes we show our dark side, and sometimes we look amazing, but the thing that I was trying to portray is that you just never know what's going on beneath the surface. That what's how something is perceived or seen at the beginning, actually there's so many layers to it. And when you let the story unfold, or when you get to know the person, you realize why that barrier was there to cross. And it doesn't make them a bad person. It doesn't make them unlikable. It's just that you didn't know their story.
Mhm.
And I think that is more of a lesson that needs to be spread with everybody right now, that we need to not cancel each other, but to give each other a chance,
It's,
you know?
Yes, on that cancel culture stuff, because it's so true, like, we're all so human
Yeah.
and we're all trying to figure it out, and I there's this quote on Instagram, I don't know where I saw it, but it's like, "We're all walking each other home," and every time I read that, I'm like, "Ugh, gosh,"
Yes.
like, it makes me want
That is a perfect example of what this movie is.
yes.
I think with the year of doing film festivals, I think the fact that you just gave me that quote, which I know is a very
Mhm.
famous quote, that perfectly sums up the movie.
Yeah, it's so true.
Thank you for that. God, I could really use that throughout the whole year of doing film festivals.
But also too, I mean, like, I just it's neat. I was we already talked about this, but and I had asked Manuel as well, but I'm just like, this is such a neat I don't know because I like to look at like the evolution of everything, but I did a little edit and I'm gonna post that later of my audition and then so fans can see what the audition was and then what
Yeah.
Kit so beautifully directed me to go in the film. So that was just cool. And just as a person, I'm like thinking of like how you guys must be feeling because it's just like, man, you guys were in this way before I even did that audition. And to be here now doing junkets to have your baby just be released. So I'm like, how cool.
Thank you. It's terrifying.
I bet. I
But
feel
I am fully prepared for all the conversations that come my
yes.
way, especially about the blended family
Yes.
experience and the validity of the stepmom. And I'm just so ready. What's interesting is I had a recent conversation with someone. I don't know if you've noticed this about the film. Maybe it didn't wasn't in your, in the
Mhm.
forefront of your mind when you watched it, but you don't know how long Maya's been a stepmom. You don't know how long they've been together. You just know that this is the first time they're all kind of
The
coming
first
together
time.
for the
Yeah.
holidays, right? I was very deliberate on not putting a time
Yeah.
frame on that. And the reason being from the stepmom experience, oftentimes when you say, I am a stepmom, they'll go, well, how long have you
Mm.
been? And what the other person asking the question is they're trying to figure out how valid you are as a stepmom. How do you deserve to be there? Do you deserve the title as being, there's that notion there that only through time
Mm.
are you
Ooh,
deserving.
I'm getting it.
Um, but also, and that can, and, but every stepmom's experience and stepdad, let's not just be
That's
too
right.
specific, is so unique to the specific situation. And so it's real. I was so clear on not putting a number on that because I knew that if I did 2 years, 10 years, 12 years, there would be audience members that would go, too little, too long.
Yeah.
No. And there would be a judgment right there.
Geez, that's such cool insight. I love that so much. And I love that you brought it up because even in my situation now, David and I aren't married, as you know, and we do live together. And even this part's really cute, and I'm going to talk about it because it's part of the process, right? So in the beginning, with even Olivia trying to figure out, who I am, she obviously knew I was David's girlfriend, and obviously, way before that, like I said, I had spoke with her mom and met and did all the, I don't know what the right steps are, but what we thought were the right steps. So then, as time is passing, she's like, "Can I call you Titi, like aunt and best friend?" And then I'm gonna shout a friend of mine out. Her name's Lacey, and she's just I love it. She's just an amazing mom, and I just go for her for advice on like anything really. I'm like, because her daughter, they're a month apart actually, and I'm like,
Yeah.
she's not sleeping. Help with this or anything. So Lacey says,
Yeah.
Val, don't don't give in to having her call you like best friend or stuff like that. She's like, because it's going to be really important that in the future she sees you as an authority figure and as a parent. And so if you
Yeah. Get
yeah,
ready. Get ready.
so I was just again, I was that was such a gift I was given because and everything's so new and I don't know and I'm not even a regular mom, let alone a stepmom. And um, so I was like, man, that was really special, and I just thank you, right? So now I'm like, okay, so I'm like trying to tell her, well, I'm not this, I'm not that, and then one day out of nowhere watching TV, and she's like, "Are you my stepmom?" And I was
Oh
I
my
know. And I was
gosh.
like, oh, why would you say that? I'm like, where did you hear that? She's like, well, and then she told me, and I'm like, well, I hope to be. I was like, when I marry your dad, I'm giving her the thing. And I was like, and she's like, can I call you stepmom? And I'm like, you can call me whatever you want if you're comfortable with that. And ever since then, she's just been so cute with like, if I do something for her and she's like, do her hair or something, she's like, yeah, because, you're my stepmom. And I'm like,
Oh my God, that's the cutest thing I've ever heard. Can I ask you an honest
please.
question though? When she said that to you, was there a part of you that said
Mhm.
internally, is this okay? Is this allowed? Am I allowed to be called this? Would this be okay with her mom? Is this okay with her
Right.
dad? Like, what do I
Oh,
do? Did that
it
exist?
100% existed. And then it became a
Yes.
conversation later. Um,
Yeah.
because I think on the other side, I think her mom thought that we were pushing that on her. And it was like,
Yep, yep,
it's like,
yep.
no, we didn't bring it up. It was her idea. And I explained, like, I'm not yet until, I was like, we're going to have the same last name one day, but not yet. But well, and I just was honest. She said, can I call you that? And I'm like, if you're comfortable, if that's what you want, of course. So that had to be explained to the mom. And I don't know how she really took it, but she was cool about it. And, um,
That I applaud her for that. I totally applaud her for
yeah,
that. And I think what I'm mentioning here is really why our role is so
mhm.
unique,
So hard.
because the inner dialogue that we have to the hoops that we have to jump through internally to feel like we're allowed to do things, is it okay, in many ways is completely against who we as women have raised ourselves to be.
So true.
We are strong ass women who own our
Right.
lives and we own our decisions. And then suddenly we're put in a situation with family where we feel it's not, like we have to
Yeah.
tiptoe. And it's completely normal. It's not the mother's fault, it's not the dad's fault, it's nobody's fault. It's just the reality of the role when you first join it. I'm not saying this is what happens down the
Sure.
road, but these are the realities at the beginning, and because of that it causes so much
Oh my god.
insecurity
So much.
and self-doubt, and just always, and for me as such a strong woman, which most women, I mean all women are strong
Mhm.
really, not feeling, me struggling with at the beginning when I with Iris, labels. I didn't think labels were super
Yeah.
important, but I actually learned with Iris that labels were extremely important so that she knew how to identify me in her life, because kids have labels and
Mhm.
identifiers. So she goes, that's my mom, that's my dad, that's my grandma, those are my cousins, this is my aunt and uncle. And she's my dad's girlfriend, but she's also something to
Yeah.
me. But who is she to
Yeah.
me? And that label is really important. And I learned that. And Iris used to call me her Kitsy. That's how she started, because my name's Kit and my family members call me Kitsy. And so she goes, I remember in preschool, her friend said, well, who's this? And she goes, oh, that's my Kitsy. And they go, what's a Kitsy? And I remember the confusion on Iris's face, witnessing that, her not knowing what to do with that. And then I realized it was important that she and I had a conversation about who I was to her and how she wished to identify me. So I applaud you and Olivia for having that conversation and for letting her lead the way. Very
Thank
cool.
you. And I did, because you inspired me. We did have a special, like a date on our year anniversary of meeting, which was so special. I sent pictures to her mom and she was like, I love this. Um
Aw. Her mom sounds awesome, by the
yes, like
way.
she's definitely been a
Awesome.
supporter of and I think, and I'm gonna mention this because it is important, and this is why I'm doing this. You know, and I know what's difficult to navigate is my relationship with Olivia's mom and David's relationship with Olivia's mom is so different,
Yeah.
and and it doesn't need
Yeah.
to be like that, but because what I just think I think I should be able to, text her these cute pictures of, being like, hey, this is what I did with Liv. I'm celebrating. Thank you for letting me be a part of this and have this, because I couldn't, I get emotional. Um, but their relationship's different, and so again, that step of just like
Yeah.
staying in this lane
Yeah.
to be what I need to be, the role for all these different people. It's
I think if I may offer some of my thought process with that, I can understand why you wish to reach out to the mom because you are such an empathetic, amazing woman who's, as you said, a girl's
Mhm.
girl. But remember that you're developing your own relationship with Olivia. And there might be, it's possible, and tell me if I'm wrong, there might sometimes be some guilt sometimes when you're having such a good time with Olivia and you think, I feel maybe slightly
Mhm.
guilty that her mom is not having this experience with her. So I want to make sure that I'm honoring her mom, and that's why I want to send that. Am I right?
Yeah, 100%. And
Yeah,
kind of like, again, just it's like to ease her mind, like, no, I just in case, I don't know what it feels like.
I
You know,
understand. I totally get it.
I I respect you and who you are.
Listen, I need you to remember, and her mom, Olivia's mom sounds incredible and really sounds like she's adulting in this scenario. Um, but I want you to remember that before you came into your boyfriend's life, they had made a decision as adults to to separate. They made this decision knowing that at one point someone else, one of them was going to meet someone and that this was going to be a potential reality. Now I understand that the reality feels very different sometimes than the idea of
I
something.
think that happened.
But none of this is your fault.
Mhm.
None of it is your responsibility to make everybody okay.
Yeah.
Your role is to be there for your partner, to be there for Olivia, and to be a kind human to her
Mhm.
mother, and to just continue to honor who you are in this
Mhm.
because you can't always make it about them. It is about you too. You're in this too. It's your life.
Yeah, thank you, and I
Yeah.
mean, I think that's, again, it's kind of been the balance, especially in the beginning, is finding when to be selfish about my experience, and when to have those moments of opening up, or I don't know, it's hard. I feel like it's just so different certain days.
Yes, it is. I
And
know. But you're just know that just give yourself a hell of a lot of
Mhm.
grace because you're going to mess up. You're going to overstep.
Yeah.
There are going to be times where you maybe should have stepped in, but you didn't. There's going to be a lot. And this is an opportunity for you to give yourself a whole lot of love because I'm telling you, there aren't women that came before us that are telling us how to, navigate these waters. This is really a new role. But it's such a beautiful role. And it's important because also like the Disney movies tell us, it could be all you to destroy this child's life as well. So the evil stepmom comes in. So you can hurt by being a part of this. You can
Yeah.
hurt this family. And so I think you have to give yourself some grace as you figure this out. And it sounds like what I love about what I'm hearing about you is you obviously care so deeply.
Mhm.
You're obviously so family oriented that you see this family situation and you want to make everything good, you
Yeah,
know?
it's hard because
Yeah.
there's just so many. I feel like we are, like you mentioned, in so many different people, so many different things to all these different people. And one day
Hmm.
you might feel like you're being accepted or whatever, and another day it's like, maybe you're getting a little cold energy. So it is always evolving because I think everything is so new for everybody involved. At least in our situation, like nobody's been through this before, and so
I think though, but this actually goes back to what I was saying at the beginning. Have you noticed that at the start of the stepmom experience, and when you read books about it, it's a lot of highlighting the relationship between the stepmom and the
Yeah.
mom, not the stepmom and her
Yeah.
partner. And I think that's where things get very tricky emotionally and mentally, is that somewhere along this like new road, the stepmom, especially one that's as kind and empathetic as you are, is going to highlight and focus on how the mom might be experiencing things. And it's just a woman's empathetic
Hmm.
way, right, to care. But it actually would do you a lot of favor if you kind of shift your focus, not you specific. I'm speaking, when I say you, I'm talking about the collective
No,
you,
you
whoever's
know me.
listening is
I love
a new
all of
stepmom.
it.
To shift the focus to your partnership,
Yes.
your relationship with the daughter, and try to just maintain your focus there, because the truth is that is why you're there.
Yes, it's so true. And I love that
Yeah.
you highlighted that, put it in all caps because it's true. And I think that's been the fun part. I've always wanted to be a mom.
Mhm.
So if this is my only taste of it, it's like soak it all up. You know what I mean? She's like they say, kids grow so fast. So um it has been fun. It's I think and I want to speak vulnerably and candidly because first step moms who have wanted to be moms, and I don't know if I
Yeah.
can or can't, but if I can't, that's even a struggle, and maybe something that women don't talk about where it's like, man, like I love this position, but it's also maybe not what I've always wanted. And that's not how I envisioned it, right? Like I wanted
Right.
my
I
child,
understand that. Yeah.
again, nothing has nothing to do with um the um David's child, Olivia or anything. But that takes everybody else out of the equation, and it's just an internal thing as a woman of just like, man, this I love this situation, but I also wanted this, and maybe this is all I'm going to get. So even just the acceptance of that.
Yeah. That is a huge conversation. There's so many layers to the stepmom experience, and like what you're saying, there are those stepmoms that have biological children of their own that bring that, and then that's its own nuanced, layered
So
thing
weird.
that can be extremely complicated,
Mhm.
right? And then you have the situation of the stepmom who comes in without having biological children, and there's the possibility that they will
Right.
have them. And then there's some women that wish to have them, but it just it never worked out for them for whatever
Correct.
reason. But yeah, there's a lot of nuance to that. And I want to share with you in that experience. I was actually someone that never wanted children, or I thought I never wanted
Mm.
children. And I always thought that I just wanted to be this big career woman, and that's how I was going to do it. And, when I married my husband and Iris came into my life, my heart really
Mm.
opened in enormous ways that I never thought they would. And it really made me sort of wrestle with this idea of who I thought I wanted to be and who I was becoming.
Yeah.
Um, but on a personal note, I every single year would take stock of how I felt about that. Like,
Mm.
do I want to have a child? And ultimately, I found myself to continue to say
Mhm.
no. And so that's personally where I've landed with that. And now at 41, I'm pretty sold on that. But I would be lying if I said that there weren't moments that just felt like a little twinge, of what could that have been like? Um, will I regret it in the future? I think that's the big thing that women are always telling women, is that they'll regret it if they don't
Right.
have children. And then that's a really terrifying
Yeah.
thought, but then I speak to so many women who have chosen to not have children, and they're some of the happiest people I've ever known, and they're older. And so I,
Traveling the world.
I think, I don't think there's one way to go about this. I think where I'm with it is, for whatever reason, that was not in the cards for me. Because trust me, when I want something, I go for it, right? I'm not saying I would have been able to have children. I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. But I am so grateful that I have Iris because I feel that she has given me the greatest gift,
Mm.
which is to love someone and to help raise a child, and that you choose to be there is the most empowering feeling. That no, I'm not bound to you by blood, but I am here and I choose you. I didn't just choose your dad, I chose you too, because you guys came as a package deal.
Mhm.
And to be a witness to her life and to help be one of the parents in her life, to help witness her growth and help shape her into who she's meant to be, it's the greatest privilege of my life. And if that's what's in the cards for me, I'll take it every day of the week.
Yes, so beautifully said. It's so true. It is all so deeply layered, and thank you for sharing that. I think this is why I loved Isabel's Garden so much, and this is why I wanted to have this conversation, because there are so many nuances to it. But at the end of the day, there is, hopefully, because everybody's stepmom, blended family situation, or step parent is different, but hopefully at the gratitude and those the specialness and uniqueness of those relationships and that love is really what keeps you going and keeps you feeling so grateful to be in it and to be going through that experience. So many amazing things. I thank you so much. I love to have had this experience. I love the movie, obviously, for all the freaking themes. And just to have you in my life as, like, a woman that I could talk to, or just be like, okay, like,
Yeah, I'm always here, honestly, always here. And here's the thing about, have you ever noticed this yet as a stepmom? You're going through something and you're like, who do I call about this? Who actually knows
what
what
is
I'm going
that's so
through?
true.
Like, really actually knows how I might be feeling. Just know I am here because I get it. And there's a lot of us out there. There's so
We're
many of
calling
us.
on you,
We
ladies.
just,
Come on.
there's so many of us. And I just, whether you have biological kids, don't have biological kids, whether you're a stepmom or whatever, I think just as women, we just need to be so kind
Yeah.
to each other because there's no right way to go about this life. And let's just all give each other a lot of compassion and grace along the
Yes.
way.
Well, thank you. I appreciate your time so much. Please remind everybody, you guys, if I'm sure you've seen all the posts and the reposts and the stories, but Isabel's Garden is going to be released very soon. Tell us where, when, all the stats.
So the movie comes out January 3rd, 2025, and it's going to be on all major digital platforms. You can find it on Amazon Prime, Apple TV, iTunes, and others. So look for us.
Yes. And where can we find you? Obviously your YouTube, your Insta, anything that you're putting content out.
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram at only Kit Rich. And then if you're, my former life was fitness. So if you've ever done any of my fitness videos, you can find me on YouTube there, Kit
Yes, you
Rich.
guys, and you've by the time you see this, I've already launched my new YouTube channel, and oh my gosh, like, go to her fitness YouTube channel, well, all the channels and all the grams and TikToks and things, but so many good videos. So hop on there and get all that too. But I love you. I appreciate your time for sure, and congratulations on the premiere.
I love you too, and thank you.
Can't believe we're here. Until next time, thank you everybody for
Crazy.
joining us. And please have the conversations. Come back to this mini series step by step. I'm going to be talking with other step parents, of course, David, and just opening up the convo so we'd get more comfortable having it. Until next time.
There you go.